All right. Hopefully, hopefully, my audio is working again tonight, which we got fixed. No thanks to Alex, who's over there. Whose mics ever get fixed? Yeah, no thanks to you. Sounds like I'm coming in all right. Sounds like I'm coming in all right. And that's good because we got things to talk about, as we always do on this show, as I always do from an auditory standpoint. You write, I talk. And that's how it works. Hello, everybody. My name is Stuart Davis, Flawed Man of God, the showrunner, producer, whatever the heck you would call me. What I actually am is a humble parishioner at a small church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. What I am not is a pastor, biblical scholar, and I have not been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do is talk about God, talk about Jesus, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about the Bible, talk about Christianity, talk about a wide variety of different topics, issues, and current events, and give you my perspective on them, one that I think is reflective of your average Christian guy. I've been a Christian all my life, 41 years, non denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular doctrine or denomination. I'm just in the word daily, trying to do it better each and every day. Sometimes I'll get it right. Often I get it wrong. But no matter what, if you are listening to my stream, if you are catching me on replay or live or whatever, you can count on getting my honest takes on whatever it is we are discussing. So, if you are somebody who is interested in learning more about Christianity, maybe you are, um, maybe you're feeling lost, maybe you're feeling like something is missing, maybe you're searching for meaning. You think Jesus might be the answer. Perhaps there is a voice in the back of your mind wondering if there's more to your existence than just this life here on earth. Well, I'll give you the short answer. You're right to be looking for Jesus. You're right to be searching for him. And hopefully this place will be a good starting point, at least for you, to get some information. Because I know that perhaps what you've seen on social media, from Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and TikToks, is a bunch of folks um, with overly produced, scripted, contrived talking points, you know, dunking on other people. Do it a little bit myself, but it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel like something that you get. It doesn't seem honest to you. And maybe that's the problem. That's what your worry is about going to church and listening to a pastor. You're worried about honesty because you think that pastor, he's a professional, right? That's what his job is, to get people to come to church and tithe and donate money and stuff. That's how he gets paid. If he doesn't do that, then he loses his job. And I get that that would be your that might be your thoughts from the outside looking in. And it's not how it's supposed to run, but I understand why you feel that way. Maybe you don't want to hear it from the pulpit, you want to hear it from somebody in the pew next to you who can tell you, "Hey, been doing this a long time, and I can tell you what it's done to me, done for me, why it's important to me, and why you should be on this path too." Because what we want to do is save you. Save well, I can't save you, but I want to see you saved. I want to see you gain that salvation. I want that existence to continue in heaven with us. I want that to be the case. So I'm going to try to do it in my best layperson, unprofessional way. And maybe that'll resonate with you. If you were already a Christian and you just enjoy Christian topics and discussions, welcome as well. We run this very similar to a Wednesday night study group or a Sunday school. Small group oriented. And we have a small group. Getting bigger though, tonight. Um, do have a small group going on where you can check in and just be part of the discussion. And that's what I'd like to see you do. Be part of the discussion or just listen to me read off and interact with the chat. But I'd love for you to be a part of it. We got a great group of folks who tune in and night out. And the chat makes this show better. The chat is great. Cannot say enough good things about the chat. And I'll and I'll tease them and they'll tease me back. But that's how it is. We'll talk about what's bothering us. We'll talk about what brings us joy. We'll give our opinions. And that's what you should do. If you want to know how to contribute, just talk. What do you agree with, disagree with? What am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What unique insight or perspective are you bringing? What experience do you have in life that you think could add to what we're talking about? Ask questions. Might not be able to answer for you. I'm not going to promise any answers, but what I'll do is tell you that we'll definitely talk about your question. Maybe point you in the right direction. Give your opinion. That's what the chat's there for. And if you like, and at the end of this, if you like the show, give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe to the channel. If you want to be notified when the show starts, click the notification bell. We do it Monday through Thursday, 8:35 p.m. Eastern time. And that's how it goes. And with that said, we will get started. Alex Morton, did mic ever get fixed? Yes. Think kind of, maybe. I don't know. That said, sounds like an intermittent plug. An electronics guy could replace the plug, no problem. Which plug? And which end are we talking about? Male end or female end? See, when a daddy plug and a mommy plug love each other very much, we're not going to do that on here. We're not going to do that on the show. We got Song of Solomon. Maybe we'll discuss it then. Hopefully tonight we can hear him. Yes, hopefully we get some clapping, some thumbs up. That's right. Oh, from Matt Felty. Welcome to the show. Alias is here. Hola, amigos. Matt, the chat hard with the riff raff at the jump. Yep. Carl, we know and love is here. Here we go, boys. Yeah, boys. Sleratos, have you tried talking about Minecraft? No. If I do a Minecraft episode, it might be something where I have my son off camera talking about it. Matt Felty said, I read your comment and wondered what it would be interesting about a Minesweeper discussion. Ooh, now Minesweeper. I'm just boomer enough to really enjoy a good Minesweeper game. So does my son actually too. Minesweeper's fun. Matt Felty, show thought, have you considered multi-streaming to X? I used to. And the reason I stopped is it stopped for some reason. I got an error message every time I tried to from StreamYards. On the headset, that might be. That actually that might be something I'll look into because hopefully I can find somebody who can fix that for me because like I said, I like this headset a lot. I want to keep it. It's comfortable. It's comfortable. And it's more expensive. So weird. Thanks, Biden. Serranos, is your son autistic because of the vaccines or homeschooling? Well, he's not homeschooled. And I don't think it's from the vaccine. I think it's because his dad is. I call it stew autism. where it's just being me. All good on sound tonight. That's the important thing. How do I sound right now? Well, welcome everybody to the show. And last night we went long because we had all sorts of stuff going on with the audio, which I was and we ended up coming full circle where we were on Tuesday night when it happened, when it first broke loose. And still got the original cord in there. Took it out, replaced it with a new cord, sounded like crap. It was a whole thing. But not tonight. And tonight we're going to talk about Proverbs 13. Now, if you want to know where we are kind of in regards to Proverbs, we're on 13. So we're not quite at halfway yet. Still got a good ways to go. We are we're not even halfway through. Contrast the upright and the wicked. We're almost halfway through that. And then we'll do some Proverbs on life and conduct, precepts and warnings, similitudes, instructions, warnings and instructions, the words of Agur, the words of Lemuel, description of a worthy woman. And then where we'll get is Ecclesiastes, which we will enjoy. Song of Solomon, which gets a little bow chicka bow wow. And then we start really getting into prophecy. Daniel, Hosea, Jonah. We got some good, we still have some good narratives coming up. And we've got some minor, very fast. Isaiah's going to take a while. But once we get past Jonah, these last books will take days to get through. A few days. And some of these are very short. And then we will begin the Gospels. Roll through the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. Very excited about doing that. Acts, Romans. Then we start talking about the church, getting into letters from Paul, letters from other people, from Peter, John, Jude, and Revelation. Revelation might get deep. I might have to get help for Revelation. I might not do a show by myself on Revelation. I might have a different person on each night we talk about it, or whoever. Eric Rollon, Christian Mario, the other Paul, some of these guys, El Chaco, maybe the Rafter, those guys on to kind of talk about it because I get imaginative when I hear it, but some folks have done a lot more studying on it. When Matthew 6 is read, well, you'll know when we get there. Isaiah's going to be good. But that's where we're at. So if you look at Proverbs and it looks like, man, we still got a long way to go, we do. But this part right here is going to go quick. This bottom part's going to go quick. And some of these letters are going to go really quick too. But some of these are going to be wrong. Hosea is going to be tough. It's going to be a little tough. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Right now we're in 13, and that's what we're going to focus on. Contrast the upright and the wicked. A wise son heeds and accepts, and is the result of his father's discipline and instruction. But a scoffer does not listen to reprimand and does not learn from his errors. Wise son heeds and accepts. All right. First point I want to make here: wise son, wise daughter, wise Christian heeds and accepts, listens to and accepts discipline and instruction from God, from our Father, all right, who art in heaven. That means listening and coming to terms with things that we may not be comfortable with or may not want to do because it runs contrary to our desires. And look, it's natural to have times where you struggle, times where you struggle with what the word says. But you got to understand our dad, our father, God knows better than us, knows how it's supposed to work, how he designed it. He tells us how it's supposed to work. He creates us uniquely, but still supposed to exist within these guidelines, these rules, these commandments. And some of these rules will be harder for some than others. Likewise, other rules might be hard for them, for the ones who are find the earlier, former, latter, whatever rules to be easy. But no matter whether it's easy to listen to the rule, or easy to deal with it, come to terms with it, accept it, and follow it, and understand that that is correct, regardless if it's easy for you to do or not, you still do it. You still have to get there. You still have to accept it. Wise son heeds and accepts, and is the result of his father's discipline and instruction. But a scoffer does not listen to reprimand and does not learn from his errors. Yeah, and you see it. You see the cringy Reddit atheist. Oh, flying spaghetti monster. Oh, he tells you to do this. What about colored fabrics? What about shellfish? Didn't he say something about genocide? Or the Methodist out there. Well, we have to accept everybody. So, really, really, what Paul was writing there was just his problems with women because he had had bad experiences with women, or Paul was just a product of his culture at the time, and that's what that writing represents. We need to be accepting. Love is love. God is love, and uh, there is mention of eunuchs. Blah 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 blah. Stop it. Scoffing comes in different ways, in different um, forms. Serranos, if you need a book written by white dudes 2,000 years ago to tell you murder is bad, 6,000 years ago, I think, actually. I think the problem is with you, dude. Yuck. Yeah, those guys. Matt said if they were wiped out entirely, why were treaties necessary? Well, two reasons, Matt. One, and they point this out in Joshua, I think, even Joshua, who was fairly thorough in doing what God asked. Um, they did not do 100% what God said, and they point that out. They did not completely wipe out um, certain peoples that God instructed them to, and it comes back to bite them later on. But they did make treaties because it was difficult. It was difficult to remove them from their homes. The other part where treaties were necessary because outside of the promised land, there were still other peoples that needed to be, or that they wanted to be, um, coexisting with. Because, the ultimate plan was not going to be just, it was just going to be uh, the Israelites forever. The plan from the beginning was to bring the whole world into the fold. And here we are. But here's the more practical, and here's another practical application for 13:1. Wise son heeds and accepts father's discipline and instruction. If you got a good, well-meaning, wise father figure, authority in your life, personal life, he disciplines you and he instructs you, and it's based in the faith, you would do well to listen. It is setting you up for success. And I think all of us who are now grown look back on some of the things that our parents told us in your life, especially our dads, and go, I wanted to, uh, I thought my old man was full of it, and I could do better. But man, now I know where he's coming from. We've been in those places in life where our father's instruction, listening to our father's instructions and wisdom, counsel, has saved us, and where not listening to our father's wisdom, instruction, and counsel has gotten us in trouble. I could say that many times, but I was giving my dad credit on Twitter the other day, or last night actually, because there's an author on there that I was talking about. He was talking about how he proofreads stuff, and one thing my dad taught me a long time ago was when you're writing something and you're done, read it out loud. Read it out loud and make sure it makes sense how you speak it. And I have caught so many run-on sentences, typos, errors in grammar, all sorts. And I'm a good writer. I'm good with words written down, but not always the best with punctuation, sentence composition, that kind of stuff. But that has helped me often. Maybe it's like, I'm explaining too much here, or I'm not being specific enough here. Just that one simple piece of advice has saved me a ton of grief. I remember um, being in Iraq, and my platoon sergeant would have me ghostwrite his emails to command. And when we were talking about it, and he was like, "Hey, this is what I want to say, type it all out." Okay, well, let's say it this way, you know, just because it sounded better. It sounded more professional, and that's what he wanted to get across. He's, he's an old country boy, but his thoughts, his ideas were good, but he wanted it to be received in a way that, you know, guys from West Point and VMI would or since we were over there with Marines as well, Annapolis, um, folks that from places like there would understand and respect. But even then, after I finished it, all right, Sergeant, let's read through this and read it out loud. Does that sound like what you're trying to get across? Yep, send it. Boom, done. Did that oftentimes. And I write through run through there's a fan sided is an app, is a journalistic site. It's got a lot of clickbait on it, but um it's it seems to be read or written mostly by people with a fan perspective or trying to offer a fan perspective. And some of their articles are almost downright unintelligible. And I'm like, all y'all have got to do is before you click send is read this once and you can catch these mistakes. And it would take you 2 minutes. It takes me 2 minutes to read this article. Take 2 minutes before you sit submit or send it to your editor. And who is proofreading this stuff? It irritates me. Irritates me because, like I said, I'm not a grammar Nazi about it. But it's got to at least make sense. And that's not my profession. If my profession was writing, whoo, sloppy. Oh yeah, great tip for writing success. Like I said, it's helped me many times. Um, many times. And it helps. My dad was local politician, wrote his own campaign speeches and his own speeches to address the public when he was sitting on the board of supervisors and stuff like that. Very well spoken, very well. And when we had one of my in middle school, 6th grade, um, my English teacher, language arts, whatever it was at the time, whatever that subject was called, did a thing called Speech Masters, where every week or every week we would have a group of folks from the class present speeches, oral presentations, sometimes with a visual aid, sometimes without, oral presentations on a topic. There was always a theme, and then we would on the end, vote on the end who did the best job. I was undefeated. Undefeated and not a well-liked person, so I did a good enough job that I would still win. Would still win. And my dad, that's when, I think doing stuff like that, doing stuff like debate, doing stuff like forensics, where it was really nerdy at the time, very socially frowned upon in that time period, in that age group, really helps me when talking now and speaking with you folks. So I credit that, and that's stuff that my dad pushed me to, because he's like, look, you want people to respect what you say, and so much of what you say is how you say it. Now, what he wasn't prepared for was the fact that so much of apparently of what I convey comes through my eyes and some of my expressions, which I am completely ignorant of when I'm talking to people. And apparently sometimes I lose when I'm animated, passionate about something when I'm talking about. I can sometimes come across way more aggressive, way more condescending, way more, I don't know, way more animated than I intend. But all it is something I care about, especially when we're discussing the faith. Dad said the language is metaphorical. Any country in the region would use the same language for every war. Serrano said they don't get paid to read it. They have to make 20 articles a day for a normal wage. Ugh. 20 plus articles a day. Well, apparently they're not judged on it. Steve, welcome, sir. How's it going? Jenny ELJ. And we got a bunch of the crew in tonight. Serrano's. So would you be an Italian then? You mean an Italian? That's why I get on you and Blaine's case so many times when y'all say the word both and or say the word both, but you pronounce it like there's some L in there. Both. And I actually didn't notice that people did that until I watched Red versus Blue. It stuck with me ever since. So, anyway, so that's the first proverb. From the fruit of his mouth, a wise man enjoys good, but the desire of the treacherous is for violence. I feel like we've been through this proverb, a very similar proverb, a few nights ago. From the fruit of his mouth, a wise man enjoys good. Yeah. Put, speak with Italians speak with their hands. You speak with your eye, Italians. Yeah, maybe. I just call me a weirdo. From the fruit of his mouth, a wise man enjoys good. You can speak wholesome things, helpful things, uplifting things, faithful things, righteous things. You can create good things can follow. Desire the treacherous is for violence, destruction, strife, not good things. The one who guards his mouth, thinking before he speaks, protects his life. The one who opens his lips wide and chatters without thinking comes to ruin. For the most part, luckily we live in a luckily or for better or for worse, we live in a society where dueling is not a thing anymore. Not life or death dueling, but and I don't think that was the case in the time this was written. However, there have been times in human history where running your mouth off could get you killed. If you in time and place and places in this world, it can still happen. Watch what you say. Know your audience. Time and place. Neo, what are you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Long time no see in the chat. One who guards his mouth, thinks before he speaks, protects his life. It can save your life. It can save your career. It can save your relationships. And it's difficult for folks who are hot-headed, pointing at me, hot-headed, or really witty, and like a good quip. It's not always welcome. It's not always appropriate. It's not always received well. So watch what you say. Think about it. Be thoughtful. And again, be constructive, uplifting, righteous in what you say. That's it. I'm all for dueling. It would shut up some morons. Yeah. The sole appetite of the lazy person craves and gets nothing, for lethargy overcomes ambition. But the soul of the diligent who works willingly is rich and abundantly supplied. Well, yeah. And look, we all have bouts of sloth. We all have times, well, some of us cannot stand being um idle at all. But you got to have some sort of work ethic, some sense of seeing a job and needing it, and a responsibility, doing it, being part of it, owning it. Because if you don't, have you met some people who just don't want to, just don't do anything? Some of them are just barely there. And you wonder, it's like, man, is there anything left of you? Or are you just some husk who stares at TVs or whatever all day? The lazy person craves, it gets nothing. Soul of the diligent works willingly, is rich and abundantly supplied. We talked about it. Talked about it a couple times in Proverbs. The feeling of accomplishment and satisfaction of a job well done. Job done well. Sometimes I see Ford trucks going down the road and something falls off of them, and I go, man. I wish somebody had some ambition over there. Just kidding. um, a righteous man hates lies, but a wicked man is loathsome and he acts shamefully. Oh, indeed. This is another one. It's very to the point. Not much to extrapolate off of this. Deceitfulness, especially malicious deceitfulness, um, false testimony, that kind of stuff is evil. And if you are a person who loves the truth, honesty, earnestness, that kind of stuff, righteousness, always coming back to righteousness. That'll be something that you can't stand. You abhor it. Wicked man, it's part of his um part of his repertoire. He lives in the lie. He lives for deceit. Righteousness, being in right standing with God, guards the one whose way is blameless. But wickedness undermines and overthrows the sinner. Yes. Righteousness saves, wickedness destroys. Even Job, who lost so much, though blameless in the sight of the Lord, and kind of a different case, in the end, his righteousness was rewarded. And his righteousness even was able to save the wickedness of his friends. There is one who pretends to be rich, yet has nothing at all. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth. I don't know why you would want to pretend to be anything that you aren't, unless you were somebody heinous and you didn't want other people to know. Um, there's a lot of, you see it on Facebook, Instagram, these kind of things. Hell, even YouTube, right? Everybody's doing everybody's getting along famously. Everybody is living their best life. What's going on, Emmanuel? Hey, we're on a proverb that you had a fair, some a little bit to say about uh last night. We were talking about being fake. Whitney D3, I'm sorry, Whitney D23. Hello, how's it going? I don't believe I've seen you comment in the chat before. How's it going? Welcome. Welcome to the show. Hope you stick around. When you talk about folks pretending to be something they're not, this one right here, probably a little bit more impactful. Oh, Neo's wife. Cool. Glad to see Neo here too. Uh, this one probably has more impact nowadays than maybe perhaps in Solomon's day. The city's big. If we're talking about Jerusalem, is at the time still a very, very large city, and probably not everybody knows each other, but it's probably a lot less anonymous than it is even in a small city in um, America. And everybody's my impression of that time period is everybody's a little bit more into everybody's business then. There's no social media where everybody's just, "Oh, look, we're all happy. We're all doing great. We're all just we're spending our money going on these expensive and lavish trips. We've got these vehicles and all of a sudden and you don't see the debt on the other side of it and all that other stuff. A lot of pretending in this day and age when it comes to uh just I think it's magnified by social media. Another pretends to be poor yet has great wealth. I don't know why you would just pretend to be poor when and having great wealth. Perhaps this is more a point of not acting like you have a whole lot of money. Being rich and yet still being humble, still being um, someone who doesn't forget where they came from, someone who remembers their friends and their community, that kind of thing. There are people like that on both sides of this. Nice to see you guys so welcoming. What was it? The ransom for a man's life is his wealth, but the poor man does not even have to listen to a rebuke or threats from the envious. Not sure. This one doesn't seem this one to me doesn't come across very straightforward. I'm not picking up on it immediately. But if I'm looking into it, ransom for a man's wife is his wealth. Your wealth holds you hostage, can hold you hostage. We were talking about last night with the proverb about, um, kind of alluding to loving honesty and coming to the aid of people who are under attack from liars and false witnesses, right? And what might hold you back? The worry about repercussions, the worry about what your reputation might be, what hit your reputation might take in a world that is um, not very in line, not very in line with God's commandments and God's teachings. If you stand up for that, there might be sanctions placed for or if you stand up for God's principles, there might be sanctions placed on you in some way. Um, you might lose your job. Heck, there's some places you might lose your kids. If you have wealth and you're attached to it, and it tends to happen, it can be it can hold you hostage and can keep you from doing the right thing. Poor guy, I got nothing to lose. I saw this stupid Instagram reel. It had me laughing. Hacker messages, and this is all cat. These are all cat PFPs. Hacker uh messages. Somebody said, "Look, I got your password." Oh, you do? No, you don't. And he goes, "Yeah, it is. It's this." And he goes, "Oh, thanks." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I'd forgotten my password." Thanks for. And now I have it. Ah, but I'm gonna get into your bank account. Okay. I don't have. I'm broke. Okay. Um, I'm gonna get on your Facebook page. And it's like, okay, that's fine. And he's like, "Well, I've got your house, your IP address. I'm gonna come to your house. He goes, please, please do this. I need friends." Maybe not that poor, but you know what I'm talking about. You don't have material items to hold you back. And you can see poor people do some of the most righteous things because they aren't tethered by worldly possessions, worldly identity. Their concern, their faith, their love, their trust so often is much more clear because they have less of the world in their way. Now, the alternative to that is the covetous poor, and that's a different topic altogether. And that's not limited to poor folks either. The light of the righteous within him grows brighter and rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked is a temporary light and goes out. Again, righteousness is eternal, wickedness will get you damned. It will. Righteousness can grow and become a great reputation and a great be you can be a great honor to your family, to the faith. It can that can go down in history. But you getting ahead because you acted wickedly, short-term gain, not long-term. Steve said you were on last night. Yep. Oh yeah, till 10:30. Started it almost till 10:30 because having audio issues. That audio issue that happened, I think it was the last time you were in the chat, Steve. I got a new cable, sounded muffled, went switched over the webcam, sounded tinny. Plugged the old plug in, fixed everything. Have no idea what was going on there. What a ride. Yeah, no softball. We are going to do fall ball. That's going to be on Thursdays, so that might get in the way of some streams, but yeah, softball's over with. Neo said she, being Whitney, she's here a lot, but she generally just listens because she's in close proximity to me. To her, you are Bible man. I sound like a superhero. Like Veggie Tales without the animated vegetables or Phil Vischer's crappy opinions. Um, see, okay, I'll start doing Mondays. If you've got push notifications on your phone or whatever, it should what it should be doing is sending you notifications that I'm starting to stream. So it goes, oh, Stuart's streaming. You got to hit the notification. You have to have me in your notifications, and YouTube has to be behaving themselves, which they often don't. Proverbs 10, through pride and presumption come nothing but strife, but skillful and godly wisdom is with those who welcome well-advised counsel. Pride goeth before the fall, right? What happens when you assume? Making an ass out of you and me. Pride and presumption. Thinking you're the best. Assuming you've got it all down. Don't need to listen to anybody. Measure measure 0 times, cut once. Always it might work once or twice, and eventually, man, that catches up hard. And how often in history do we see where pride and presumption have led to deadly and tragic consequences? Skillful and godly wisdom is those who welcome well-advised counsel. Just like running your mouth, right? Consider, measure, observe, be prudent, be tactful, be righteous. The big R word, righteous. Wealth obtained by fraud dwindles, but he who gathers gradually by honest labor will increase his riches. I wonder if this is I wonder if this is an inadvertent commentary on the lottery. If some people um consider the lottery gambling and it's sinful, I don't know. I don't know how that falls in there. I don't know how that plays in there. And maybe we'll come into a um a passage that I've looked over or I've missed that gives it that it's more clear on that on gambling in general. But whether you think a raffle or a lottery falls within that, not sure. But unearned wealth, you don't get that from 11. No, but I thought that was funny because you think about people who often get wealth that's unearned. Not to say that, hey, look, good for people who win the lottery. There's a lot of things happen to people who hit the jackpot, though. Um, there's just one's easy come, easy go. Um, I know more people who have obtained money through inheritance or won it and become rich than I know people who have obtained money fraudulently. And so that my anecdotal experience. No, it is different from fraud, Matt. What I'm saying is fraud is unearned wealth, and it's not the same um as gambling or whatever. But what I was saying is, when wealth that you haven't worked for, that's why I said is it inadvertently a commentary on that. Um, but let's look at it on its on at its word. Let's take scripture at its word here. Wealth obtained by fraud dwindles. You didn't work for it. You stole it. You cheated somebody out of it. Yeah, sure, there was some effort that went into that, but it wasn't yours. Easy come, easy go. You spend through it because you're looking for the easy way out. You're looking for the easy way that um the get rich quick scheme, so you can get the things you want. It usually doesn't come with the patience of, "Oh, I'm willing to invest. I'm willing to do this," etc. Not like somebody who has worked hard, earnestly, and wants to make that money grow, make that wealth grow, um, make it last not just for him and his family, but for generations to come. So the fraud, the thief, will burn through their wealth. It won't stay because you don't appreciate it. You didn't appreciate what it meant, what that wealth stood for, the um the hard work that went into getting it. But if you did work for it, you do. My mother-in-law was watching television last night, and I was in there helping with the new baby, well, newest baby, the 1-year old. And there was some. It was like Mysteries at the Museum or something. They were talking about ranch hand who had gotten scammed out of his money by a guy because this is out in Texas. The guy was a ranch hand, or not ranch hand, ranch owner, and this guy said he was going to invest some money in the stock market. Guy comes in New York or wherever, comes back, says, "Hey, I invested it. We got this great return. It's $67,000 that we won. I took $100. This is in the 1920s. This is 1924, if I remember correctly. 1924 guy comes and says, I invested $100 for you. It was a big hit. $67,000 was our return. So they're talking about it. They're going to divide it up because they said they were going to split the earnings. Guy comes in to the meeting and says, "Hey, I'm with the stock exchange. This guy isn't properly registered, and so you're not, all these earnings are null and void." The stock exchange is still pretty new to everybody, to people right back then, especially uh some country guy out in Texas. And so he's like, "Oh," he said, "Look, if you can if you can come up with $67,000 to match it, we'll we'll count it as good." So this ranch owner scraped and 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 borrowed and did whatever and said um and came up with the money. Gave it to the guy, disappeared. Like I said, some of these tricks are obvious to us, and some of these tricks are old to us. They weren't always that old. This is still kind of a new type of fraud. Both of the other guys, the guy pretending to be the stock guys and the guy from pretending to be the investor, they were in on it together. So this guy, like a true Texan, goes out on the hunt, gets the idea from the guy, finds out where the guy is, the main investor guy pretending to be the investor, goes in and finds the man in Florida, because of course the man's in Florida, holds him at gunpoint and drags him back to Texas. And so the narrator during the story goes, and I'm like, "Did he get his money back?" And he said, "No, the man did not get his money back. He got something sweeter, justice." I go, "No, he didn't get his money back. 67,000. I went on the internet to find out how much $67,000 in 1924 was, what the value of that would be today. $1.2 million. dollars. I said, "Look, justice is great, but the justice of catching a thief is not as much as getting the $1.2 million back." And they went and spent that money. That's why he never got it back. They'd spent it, probably the majority of it, and he never got his money back. That money meant more to him than it did to the guy who scammed it from. That money would have been invested better on the ranch by a man working with his hands than it would have been by some scumbag fraudster who is just spending it doing other, probably other nefarious and degenerate things. First off, hey Octavia, how you doing? Sorry, I was on a roll. I didn't want to stop. Steve, Providence is unexpected gain and loss. Yeah, but I've seen it come to people who didn't appreciate it. Relatives, in fact. Um, and it was gone as fast as it came. Manuel said, first mistake was to trust a New Yorker. Said Matt said, bought his buddy a suit with $100 for the double scam. Now, apparently they were the investor was the ringleader in some sort of like fraud, scam gang, whatever. Have a good night, Neo. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when desire is fulfilled, it is a tree of life. It's good seeing you, Neo. Always good seeing you. Neo's old hat. Neo's Neo's an old school listener from the, I think, as far back as Eric Rollon came over with Eric Rollon. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when desire is fulfilled, it is a tree of life. Who's with me? Who's with me? Has been pining for something to happen, hoping, praying for, and not seeing it happen. That feeling of need and wanting God to come through, wanting his will to be done in the way you want it to be done, but not happening in the time that you think it needs to happen. Make the heart sick. When it happens, whenever it happens, when it happens on time or when it happens down, when it finally gets there, it's a tree you feel is fulfilled. The desire is fulfilled. It's a tree of life. Walk. How many times something happens to me, and I love it. Two fingers up. God, thank you. Thank you. be appreciative and understand that, yeah, things not happening. God understands things not that don't happen on your time can be painful to endure. Doesn't mean it doesn't need to happen. Excuse me. Whoever despises the word and counsel of God brings destruction upon himself, but he who reverently fears and respects the commandment of God will be rewarded. Somebody read this to the Methodists. 1 million members left in a day over some idiotic and foolish, almost cartoonishly stupid uh, leadership decisions. Maybe Matt says, Matt going back to 12. The first part is about lack of hope having consequence. Um, deferred is a weird. Is kind of deferred is kind of in a weird place for that. Like when you say deferred, is when we're thinking about this. Let's look at let's see what another translation says. Maybe go back to my first love, the Niv. Nope, hope deferred. Oh wait, I didn't press search. Nope, hope deferred. ESV. A lot of people like ESV. Deferred. Weird. It's an odd. It's in an odd place there. So we're talking about your hope for things not being fulfilled on time and in the time that you expect, like I was thinking it of it, or is it um not hoping, putting your hope aside? I think either way you look at it, well, intention's different, right? But I think the symptom's the same. I'm not reading Greek. You get Paul, you have to get the other Paul on here for that. He could tell us. But I think the symptom's the same. There's a little bit more. I think hope deferred, in the way I understand it, the heart sick is due to helplessness. Like I'm helpless. I'm at God's mercy for this. Where hope, just giving up on hope because you don't think God's going to come through for you, is hopelessness. Alias, oddly enough, Australian text, and maybe you just remember it. The other Paul is Australian. Oh, yeah. Going back to 13, despises the word and counsel of God, brings destruction upon himself. Seen it countless times in scripture, in real life. There you go. But he who reverently fears and respects the commandment will be rewarded. The teaching of the wise is a foundation and source of life, so that one may avoid the snares of death. Yeah. Yeah. Wisdom, source of life. Look, we've talked about when we were still in long form Proverbs, talking about wisdom as this wonderful, benevolent woman, who is hospitable and just giving you all valuable. Wisdom can save your life. It's okay, Matt. These are long episodes going through these. Good understanding wins favor from others, but the way of the unfaithful is hard, like barren, dry soil. Good understanding wins favor from others. Tell you what, we're an hour and 15 minutes into this, and I'm kind of at a roadblock with this. And I'm kind of like, Matt, um, getting a little brain fried trying to parse through all this stuff. We're gonna parse this episode out to tomorrow. We're gonna finish Proverbs. We're gonna finish Proverbs 13 up tomorrow because we've had a lot to discuss and digest. What do y'all think? Well, it doesn't really matter what y'all think because that's what I'm gonna do because it's my show. But these have been very long. Um, these have been very long episodes because you're trying to discuss and hash out wisdom. If we have to go through it slowly, we got to go through it slowly. You don't want to rush through things. All right, so with that said, we'll pick up with 15 tomorrow. Think about 15. Good understanding wins favor from others, but the way of the unfaithful is hard, like barren, dry soil. Not saying that these are tough concepts to understand, but what are they? I might put that in the show description for tomorrow. Proverbs the 13th part 2. And that's one of the things I was Matt that I was wondering about was going to happen with Proverbs. We were going to get a little mired down, not in a bad way. These discussions cuz I've been in small groups going through Proverbs, man, you get hung up on some topics are just worth really breaking down. And look, we can do it. We can do it. We can come back. We can take our time to go through this. So, all right. That said, Matt, alias, I got to remember this for tomorrow. Steve, Hawley, and Octavia, have a good night, Octavia. Alias, I already said alias. Matt, alias Steve, Jenny, LG, Neo, who is all gone to bed, Emmanuel Osorio. It didn't. Hey, hold on. I didn't catch this. Emmanuel, back in 1924, the IRS wasn't taking 40%. Ooh, they might have been taking more. Ooh, what is the tax rate back then? There was a time tax rate was ridiculous, but I thought it was FDR more than, but it could have been Teddy. Could have been Teddy. Can't remember. Anyway, um, Whitney D23, Neo's wife. Glad to see you here, even if you've probably already turned in for the evening. Serranos, yeah, I guess it's good to see you. Alex, Carl, we know and love. Carl, we know and love. Thanks for coming in. Thad the man. Thad the man. Also, thanks, Thad. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your thoughts. Thanks for your opinions. Thanks for commentary. It's always welcome. It's always great. It's where we get down, while we get mired into this in a good way. In a good way. Thank you for being part of this show and making it better. Love you guys. Um, To everybody who is tuning in, not participating in the chat, I encourage you to, but I understand if you don't want to or can't. Just glad that you're finding some place there you can tune in nightly or whenever and find something that you enjoyed. To everybody um, who is catching this on replay, sorry I missed you. Hope to catch you live sometime, but I appreciate you tuning in and watching on replay. Everybody have a great night and God bless.